welcome again to my show, Searching for Integrity. My name really is John Smith, and I'm searching for people with integrity. Why? Because our country suffers from IDD, integrity deficit disorder. Today, we have an author, a prolific author, who travels the world, it looks to me. We'll find out in a little bit. Her name is Winifred Bragg. That's with 2 G's on Bragg. Are you there, Winifred?
I'm here, John.
And you're a doctor. I didn't call you doctor. Forgive
That's
me.
okay. That's okay. I'm not treating you today.
Well, I may have some acids, especially when we get to the back section.
Okay, yes, I may have some answers.
There you go. Let me pump this right here a little bit. And it looks like it's well. Now, there was a couple of things I wanted to get out of the way first, as I was making some notes.
Mhm.
And the book, of course, is the most recent book, which is Bragg book for a competitive job market, backing the right way.
Right.
Is that right?
Correct.
Okay. And then I've got 2 of the things I'm going to lay upon you. One is which Fort Bragg. See, I was Army. That makes me Army.
All right, it does. It's in Fort Bragg, North Carolina.
That's right. It's Fayetteville.
That's right, Fayetteville.
Yeah. And the other thing we probably ought to get out of the way is roll time, roll
Time.
wave, roll time, roll
We're ready
tide.
for that. We're ready for that.
Does everybody ask you that? Roll tide?
Everybody asks me that. My patients know when Alabama loses, they want to cancel their appointments. They think that I'm going to be in a bad mood. But fortunately, I'm not bragging. They don't lose that often, so I don't have to have that many cancellations.
Oh boy. Let me ask you, how do you practice, and how do you do all these books simultaneously? You're really at it.
Well, it's just about having discipline and keeping a schedule. One of my books, as you know, is on goal setting, and I write down what my goals are and what are reasonable time frames in which I think that I can accomplish those goals. And I just try not to waste time. I use my car a lot. Now, you can use your car hands free and you can uh, voice memos and dictate things when you're driving to and from work. So when I have thoughts about books and different thoughts and ideas for speeches and things, I can dictate it in my 30-minute commute to and from work. So that's very helpful. And I tell people that's one of the things you got to use what you have. And if you're sitting in the car driving, that's some wasted time you can use.
Oh, I understand completely. I'm thinking about, I'm going to say 15 or 20 things. And as I'm rolling down the road, I'm thinking, um, I can't write, but I could record it if I had a recorder. But I haven't
You
thought about that. Now I've thought it.
Right, you can just take your iPhone or whatever kind of phone you have and have it plugged into the car, and you put it on voice memo or to whatever type of dictation system you have. And while you're doing that, John, you can record a show or some ideas for a show or story and get it roughed, and then you have it transcribed, and there you have it. And once I did that, that was the key to helping me write my books.
I believe that. I believe that because it seems to me I'm always behind. I just can't
Right,
catch up. I'm always behind, you know, and I don't like it. I'm usually right on time. And I was a
right.
drill sergeant in the Army.
Right. Oh my God. The drill. You were Sergeant Carter in the Army, huh?
Yes, I was the honor graduate of my honor school.
Wow. Well, we all have things we have to work on, and that just means that you're super busy. But that's what I would recommend. If you try that voice memo, just try it for a day, and you're going to see how much you get done in doing that.
I will. I will.
Hmm.
I will do that. Now, the book currently, I guess it was just launched
Well, it was
recently.
launched last year. I launched the one on the Bragg book for professionals.
I see. Well, that one's good enough for me. Um, what did you want the message that you had when you have an up down all around kind of economy?
What was the message that I wanted? What now?
What what would be, in your opinion, regarding the competitive job market? And if you look at radio and TV during the day, you hear all kinds of economic problems and so forth, and of course that's going to affect jobs and the people
Right.
that want them. So, why do you tell me about the one that got you out of the? Anyway, go ahead.
Well, when I think about in a economy, that what one has to do is be like an octopus and look at what are your different skills. A lot of times we have different skills that are untapped skills, untapped qualities and things that we're qualified to do that we don't even know about. Sometimes it's not the things that you were even trained to do that you had formal training with, but sometimes it's your natural gifts that you can develop, and that can also turn into something from economics. I think that a person has to have more than one stream of income and revenue. And that's why you have to do different things. And that will help you in a competitive job market and an economy like it is today.
Well, it's I'm a news freak. That's where I get my information. Like
Right,
people like you, and I subscribe to the RTIR, and I get a lot of
right,
authors. You're being one of them, and
right.
it's just I just have this feeling that there's something over the next a cliff is around the next mountain. That's what I'm getting to. I think we're going to have problems, and would not cast my own views on that, other than um, you find it luring for you.
Right.
You've got a lot of books and a lot of speaking engagements.
Yes, sir.
Do you try to stay home if you're in your travel to your car, or do you fly a lot?
Well, I really like live events because it helps you with interaction with the audience. But as you know, with the pandemic, like everyone else, I had to pivot. And so I then became proficient in doing virtual events. So I offer a lot of virtual events, and that helps a lot of people who don't want to have the expense of traveling and going places, and they can tune in to a virtual event without having to leave their home. I even incorporated virtual things or telemedicine in my practice during the pandemic. So I do both virtual and live events.
Well, that's terrific. That way, you're going to have two sources of business coming at you.
Right. And that's what I think the key is for how the economy is going. You need to have more than one stream of income because whoever would have thought, John, that times would come where people couldn't get to the doctor. And so the
I know.
pandemic was the time when you had to say, Doctor, I just can't get to you. I'm afraid to come. There's a infection and what all is going on. I have all these other illnesses and I don't feel safe coming to a doctor's office. You never would have thought medical school didn't prepare us for saying people can't get to the doctor's office. So I had to pivot then and create a telemedicine aspect of my practice. And so it's good because you know what it helped? It helped caregivers a whole lot because caregivers didn't have to disrupt their time with taking care of people who were sick and worry about the
Yeah.
transportation and whatever. So yeah, so it gives you more than one stream of income.
Well, that's pretty good, real good. The the things that I guess your topics that you're looking at mostly? They're all medical related in some way of another, other than how to get a job.
Well, what really happened, the Bragg factor really is not so medical related. It's really about, as you say, about how to get a job, but it teaches people about their value, recognizing their value. And what I find that even when people are sick or disabled or in pain, that sometimes, people attach to their value, their job to their value. And when they can't do it because they're sick or disabled, some of them don't feel as valuable. And sometimes you have to come up with different skill sets to be able to do something else. So a lot of the topics that I talk about, I do speak to medical groups, but I speak to a lot of business organizations and companies and to women's groups, because recognizing your value and being able to brag and say good things about yourself, John, is kind of like you say the IDD, the integrity deficit disorder. There's a deficit in people being able to say good things about themselves. And as you mentioned in the news today, there's so much bad on the television or wherever you're listening
Right.
that is good to be able to say something positive. And a lot of times we don't say what's good about us. And that's why the brag factor. So it's not about also medical, even beyond getting a job, it helps you to understand yourself personally and professionally.
I would imagine that if with the coming uh, presidential election,
Hmm.
that they might look at someone such as you with all the talent that you have and all the things that you know. You ought to be on one of those teams. What do you think?
Well, I would be love to be on one of those teams if they would listen, because I think that there's some common sense things. My grandmother, who's not with us any longer, always said that the biggest minority in the United States is common sense. And I think that she was right on in saying that. And some of the answers to some of our health problems we could address using some common sense strategies. So I would love to be there if they're going to use some common sense. And sometimes we get so into diagnosing things and coming up with all these protocols that they really didn't help anybody, but we just created a lot of paperwork.
Yeah, I agree. A lot of that is out on the turf, tossing
Right.
it around and not really helping the situation at all. Being
Uh,
very disruptive, you know?
like we created insurance for people saying everyone needs insurance, but then you gave people insurance with high deductibles. So how do you give someone that doesn't have a means an insurance that has a $6,000 or $7,000 deductible? So when it came to specialty care, the person can't afford to get it because the deductible is so high. And
And
yet you
and
say, and yet you say, well, they have insurance, but they have it, but it's of no use to them.
well, the people that benefited to all of that are the insurance companies.
The insurance companies benefited from that. But I can't stand it when they want to act like you're giving people something and you're really not. The rich just benefited more than the people who needed it.
Exactly, exactly.
Right.
Um, Now let's see. We've got two websites.
Yes, sir.
One is the Bragg factor that we're talking about now,
Right.
and the other one is knockoutpain.com.
Correct.
Tell me about that. I like that.
Knockout pain is because I'm a pain specialist. I'm board certified in pain medicine. That's one of my two specialties. And I treat people who have musculoskeletal pain, pain involving their neck, their shoulders, their back, hips, and it's done non surgically. And one of the messages that I want people to understand is most of these things can be handled without surgery. Even though back pain is one of the number one reasons people come to the doctor, in the United States, back surgery is done at twice the rate of other countries. Yet we know statistically, if you had 100 people, only 5 of those 100 should really need back surgery. So why is it? People think surgery is the answer when they really
Uh-uh.
should be seeking non-surgical remedies.
That's right. Wait till they get to rehab.
Right. It's a rehab. That's
They
correct.
don't know that. They don't know how that is.
They
I
don't
had
know how
I,
that is. Right.
I had a total knee replaced.
Okay. So you know about rehab.
I know all about that rehab. and
That's
I got to
right.
watch my step.
Watch your steps. That's right. But if you put the work in, and if you didn't have any complications from surgery, you're probably a little better off now that you went through it. But
Oh,
again, it
sure.
just
Mhm.
takes discipline and the goals of saying this is what I need to do and how often I need to do the exercises. And it's just spoke to your accountability.
Do you have a chiropractic background in any way?
No, sir. I'm a typical physician. I'm not a chiropractor. At one point, I did own until the pandemic a physical therapy center as well as part of my practice. So I had physical therapists to help treat people who had musculoskeletal pain. And I
Right.
do believe in having physical therapists who have manual skills, mean hands-on skills, which you may think are chiropractic skills, to help people who have musculoskeletal problems. And I say the difference in the physical therapist and the chiropractor is that the physical therapist is going to do some hands on with you, but they're going to help you go home with a program that you can do yourself so you don't have to be dependent on coming back. Oftentimes, chiropractors, I'm not here to talk bad about them because they're an integral part of treating people with musculoskeletal problems. But a lot of times their treatment is a little longer. And with a physical therapist, you can usually go a shorter period of time because they're going to concentrate, as I hope they did with you, John, in showing you what you could do at home.
I already have. My
Right,
wife, she goes to work out 3 or 4 times a week,
right.
uh, and is doing very well with it. And I was telling her about my lower back,
Hmm.
and she said, "Do you know how to do a Superman?"
Right.
And I said, "No. This was only an hour ago." And I
Right.
said, "She get down," and I couldn't get it going.
You
That's how
couldn't get it
weak.
going.
That's why my back was so weak. I couldn't get Superman.
Well, one of the things you can do to just strengthen your back a little bit, since you are talking on podcasts and things all day, buy one of those stability balls at one of those sporting goods stores and just sit on it. And with you sitting on it at times of the day, that's going to help increase your core passively. And that's
Oh,
an
sure.
easy thing you can do. Rather than sitting in that chair you're sitting in, just sit on that a few times a day and let that, the balancing and all of that is going to passively help you increase your core. And she may come home and say, I left him as a weak man and I came home and found a Superman.
Yeah. No, she's the type she'll keep it to herself.
She'll keep it to herself.
That's
She
right.
won't brag on you, huh?
Not at all. Make your own brag,
Make
she
your own
says.
brag.
That's what your book says. Make your own brag.
Make your own brag.
I read it right here. Do you, you have so many things going on. Um, and I'd like to think that I don't know. You can't roll the books all at the same time. You've got 5 or 6, um, and they're
Right.
all look like they're all very, very, very well done. Whoever
Thank,
does your book covers, you ought to pat them on the back.
well, thank you so much. He is good. He is excellent.
And I thought that the Bragg book, that's the past one, the
Right.
competitive job market. Yeah. Learn to own and communicate your value. Oh, sometimes that can be hard trying to compete people, let them help themselves.
Right. Well,
And
the hard thing is you have to think of when people think of bragging, some people think of bragging as bad. So it all comes with the mindset. What are you thinking about? And when you sometimes if you just change you into a product, just like you may have a glass or something, and you say, "Oh, this is a good glass. It keeps my water cold." Think about you as a product, and if you think about yourself as a product, it's easier to brag on. As you said, Roll Tide is something that you started off at the beginning of this program. People brag on their sporting teams and they have no problems doing it. So think of yourself as that football team the next time and how you can freely brag on your sporting team. You could do that about yourself the same way. And just think of you as that sporting team or that product and say some good things about you, and it's going to make you feel better. You're going to be more confident, and you don't have to be obnoxious. The reason I say that, John, is you want to think of brag as a 5-letter word, not a 4-letter word, because that last G, like at Fort Bragg where you went, that
Sure.
last G stands for gratitude.
Well, how about that? That's good. And also, I was going to say that, you've probably got a big red A on your drinking glass.
I turned it around because I do. I have a big red A on my drinking glass.
That's
One of
right.
my staff members gave me this, and they gave me a big red A on my drinking glass. So
I don't miss much.
you don't miss much, do you? But that's right. I got a big red A over there. I start the day off with my big red A.
There you go. If you would, I'd like to tell all those viewers to where they can buy your book,
You can
picture
get
book.
my you can get my book from Amazon.com. Just put it on the books Winifred Bragg, and all of my books will come up if you just put my name in the search bar on the Amazon and the Bragg Factor, my back pain book, and all the books will come up from Amazon.com.
Right. I've noticed recently that a lot of, call them just publishers, um, they're taking on, no, they're not, like Ingham Spark.
Yes,
Well, and even Barnes and Noble, they're starting a program. They're all starting programs to help uh, authors publish.
right. That's right. They
And that
all
wasn't the case 2 years ago.
That's right. Yeah, because so many people, one of the things a lot of people have on their wish list or bucket list is to write a book. And so they're taking advantage of that. There are a lot of people that have books in them that they never get written out. Actually, I took a long time before I wrote my first book. I thought about writing a book in college, and I read the book on how to write a book. I went to medical school, read the book again on how to write a book. And then when my mother had back pain, in 2013, I became her caregiver. And she said, "You need to write a book. What are other people going to do? They don't have you to help them." And I'm like, "Mother, I'm trying to take care of you, run a practice, and what do you want me to do?" She says, "You need to write a book to help other people." So my first book was actually dedicated to my mother. And when your mother asks you to do it, you do it. And so I
That's
did it.
right.
And so I wrote my first book on back pain. And yeah, so a lot of people have that. So they have programs to help you write a book. And at that time, I wasn't using the phone, the voice memos, and that's what took so long. So after I did that first one, iPhone and all those things kind of evolved. I said, you know what? Let me be smart about this. I have that commute to and from work. I can dictate and get those things done, and then I got a process down, and it really helped me.
Well, thanks. I'm going to look into that.
You look at it and then write me and let me know how it helps you.
All right. I got something I'm going to send you probably today or tomorrow. That's not
Okay,
like about that, just other things.
okay, wonderful.
Um, Now here we get to the great part, the adios. I had a good time
Okay,
with you. You're a good person, and I'm
okay,
glad to have you on my podcast, on my
and I
show.
enjoyed it as well.
And I want to thank my listeners for tuning in to Searching for Integrity. And so long, and happy trails to all until we see again.